Today, we're going to talk about addiction in a totally different way. I want you to forget everything you've heard about willpower or moral failings. Instead, we're going to dive into the neuroscience of it all, how your brain's own amazing efficiency systems can get hijacked, and, more importantly, how you can hijack them right back.
So let's just start with this one big question. What if the whole struggle with addiction has nothing to do with being a good or bad person, but it's all about who's actually flying the plane? Seriously, getting your head around this one idea, it's the key to everything else we're about to talk about.
Okay, so if we want to take back control, we first have to understand how our autopilot gets hijacked in the first place. And it all begins with something pretty surprising about your brain. It is absolutely obsessed with being efficient.
Now take a look at the words in this definition. Notice what pops up. Learned, efficient, automation. See, addiction isn't some chaotic mess. It's actually your brain doing what it's designed to do, create shortcuts to save energy. The only problem is, it's creating a shortcut to the wrong destination.
And get this, 95%. That's how much of your day is run by your brain's non-conscious autopilot. Think about it. Brushing your teeth, driving to work. You don't actively think through every step, right? Well, for the brain, reaching for a substance can become just another one of those automated habits. Your brain doesn't judge it, it just automates it.
So how does this hijacking actually work inside our heads? Well, neuroscientists talk about something they call a triple network failure. The best way to think about it is like a hostile corporate takeover of your brain. First, the autopilot network, the DMN, which is supposed to just chill in the background, it suddenly seizes total control. Then, the CEO network, your ECN, the part that handles planning and says, hey, maybe that's a bad idea, it gets locked out of the boardroom. And finally, your brain's GPS, the salience network, it just goes completely haywire. It starts screaming that the only destination that matters is the addiction.
And this analogy just nails the feeling, doesn't it? You, your conscious self, you're trapped in the back seat. You can see the cliff coming, you're pounding on the glass, you're screaming to stop, but your autopilot has the keys, and it's following that broken GPS right towards disaster.
But, and this is so important, here's where the story totally changes. The very same process that wired the brain for addiction can be used to rewire it for recovery. This next part, this is our roadmap for taking back the wheel.
The science that gives us all this hope? It's called positive neuroplasticity. And all it really means is that your brain is not set in stone. It's more like clay. You can literally build new roads, new pathways, and close off the old destructive ones. You are the architect of your own mind.
So how do we actually do this rewiring? I mean, what are the steps? Well, that's exactly where the 12 Journeys framework comes in. And this isn't just a bunch of nice ideas. It is a practical, step-by-step guide to climb back into the driver's seat and reprogram that faulty GPS in your brain.
The whole framework is structured like a growing tree. It makes a ton of sense when you see it. First, you have to build strong roots, create a solid foundation. Then, you start to grow new shoots, reaching for your potential. And finally, you bear fruit, making a real impact on the world around you.
All right, let's start at the very beginning, the root journeys. And this is so key. We are not trying to change behavior yet, not at all. Before you can build anything new, you have to understand the ground you're building on. And that means you've got to dig deep into the soil of your non-conscious programming.
These first few journeys are absolutely non-negotiable. Awareness is all about just seeing the autopilot, recognizing what it is and what it does. Then there's grief, which is about finally, truly feeling the emotions that the substances were used to numb. And finally, acceptance, which is all about figuring out where you are right now, without judgment.
This quote from The Journey of Grief, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? The pain isn't the thing to run from, it's actually the raw material that's gonna remake you. The only way out is through.
And let's get one thing straight about acceptance. It does not mean giving up. It's the exact opposite. It's the incredibly brave act of looking at your own GPS and saying, okay, this is where I am. Because only when you know your true location can you start to chart a course to somewhere new. So, once we've explored the roots and laid that foundation, we can move on. It's time to start building upwards. The shoot journeys are all about actively, consciously constructing a new self.
What you're doing here is essentially you're installing a brand new operating system for your mind. You're shifting from being driven by old programming and past trauma to being pulled forward by a compelling vision of the future. You're going from autopilot reactions to conscious, intentional choices. It's all about reclaiming your power.
And one of the most powerful ways to do this is with the journey of vision. This is where you literally create memories of the future. It sounds wild, but by imagining the life you want with so much detail and emotion, you're actually building the neural pathways for it before it even happens. Your brain starts to recognize it as a familiar place.
And this quote just captures that idea so perfectly. You are the artist of your own future. Your vision is the blueprint. You have to see it, draw it, and feel it before you can actually build it.
And that brings us to the final phase, which is really the most inspiring part of all of this. The fruit journeys are about what happens after you've done the work, when you start living out your fullest potential.
You see, the goal of recovery isn't just to stop a behavior. It is to absolutely thrive. This is where the fruit journeys come in. They help you embody this new self, with practices like the journey of nurture, which is about continuous self-care, and the legacy journey, which is all about your impact on the world.
You know, the journey doesn't really have an end point. It just evolves. This quote reminds us that growth needs constant, gentle attention. You're like a garden, and you have to keep tending to yourself.
And finally, we arrive at legacy. This journey asks a huge question. What is the impact of your transformed life? Your story, your truth, it becomes an echo that can inspire people long after you're gone.
So, when you really think about it, by understanding your brain's autopilot and consciously choosing to take back the wheel, you don't just change your life. You change the story your life tells. And the only question left to ask is, what story will yours be?